Hey, I hope everybody's having a wonderful Mother's Day out there so far. Today is Sunday, May 11th, 2025, and looking ahead into late next week, we have a dangerous severe weather outbreak looming for Thursday, May 15th. Across the Midwest, areas like Wisconsin, Iowa, into Missouri, much of the state of Illinois, Indiana, Western Kentucky, and up into Michigan, we could be seeing dangerous severe weather in the form of damaging winds, large to very large hail, and tornadoes. Some of those tornadoes could be strong. And it's all because we have a western United States trough that's going to be kicking in across the Rockies and into the plains Wednesday into Thursday, and then Thursday into Friday ejecting up into the upper Midwest with a strengthening low pressure system. This is going to bring dynamic weather as it looks to be a negatively tilted trough, and negatively tilted troughs bring more dynamic weather this time of year. So looking here at our temperature anomalies this afternoon on your Mother's Day, very warm, scorching heat across the northern United States like the Dakotas, Minnesota, and into Montana, extending back into Wyoming and the western U.S. in general across the Rockies. And some of this heat could be record-breaking as well, where areas near the Gulf Coast into the southeast will be below normal and significantly below normal with our cutoff low pressure system down here. Cloud cover and precipitation will keep us cooler. Now, here are your high temperatures this afternoon. We're record territory up across the Dakotas and Minnesota. In fact, we're closing in on the triple digits actually in a couple of areas, and look at how widespread. Areas boxed out here have record high potential this afternoon. Phoenix, 104 this afternoon. South Texas into the 90s, and same thing down here in Florida where we have it cooler in the southeast up the eastern seaboard is where we have cloud cover and some precipitation falling this Mother's Day afternoon. And some of that heat is going to be wrung out in the form of severe weather. We have a slight risk of severe weather in yellow. That's a 2 out of 5 on the risk scale. The closer to 5 you are, the more likely severe weather will be. So this is on the lower end of the scale, but continue to watch this across Montana, northwest Wyoming, back into eastern Idaho. Also a 1 out of 5 in the dark green as well. Into the southeast, we're keeping an eye on Mississippi, Alabama, South Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida for a marginal risk of severe weather. This is a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale. And there is a tornado risk down here in the southeast into Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. In the green, this is a 2% chance of tornadoes in a 25-mile radius in or around this location. So be watching out for the potential of tornadoes and maybe even a few water spouts as we head into this afternoon and evening. And it's all due to this big trough down here spinning, cut off from the main flow in the jet stream down here into the Gulf Coast region. And as that continues to drift slowly as we go into the week across the east, it's going to continue on Tuesday, Wednesday, up into the eastern seaboard, and then become a little bit more diffuse as we go into Thursday, May 15th. That's when we turn our attention to the west with our big trough coming in for severe weather in the Midwest. Now, as far as Mother's Day goes for precipitation, we are keeping an eye on two main areas. The first area down here in the southeast, the second area up here across the Pacific Northwest, and we're watching that this afternoon. We stopped the clock at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Notice we have scattered thunderstorms across Montana, Wyoming, into Idaho and northern Utah. Severe weather, damaging winds, large hail will be possible. The tornado risk up here should be pretty low. Down into Florida, this is a two-pronged approach here. We have severe weather with all forms of severe weather, damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes and water spouts, but also a flash flooding risk as we have tropical moisture from the eastern Gulf pushing inland here into portions of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. That will continue as we go into the evening hours as that cutoff low pressure just sits here and spins, transporting that moisture inland, and that continues as we go into the Monday morning time frame. Now, as far as your precipitation goes for totals of rainfall going through your Mother's Day here, looks like the wettest weather will be in the southeast here, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Florida. In fact, we could be seeing a couple of inches of rain in a short amount of time down here, so flash flooding will be a concern. And then across the Pacific Northwest, few and far between, but we could be seeing some half-inch rainfall totals up into Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho, and quite frankly, these areas need the rainfall. Drought is definitely taking over in those areas. We need it. Now, going through the week, we mentioned this cutoff low pressure is going to be moving up the eastern seaboard. It's going to take its sweet time to do so before it remains diffuse as we go into Thursday. And it's going to bring a slug of moisture with it as we go through the week. So here's Monday morning. It's going to be a wet start to the day here in Chattanooga, Knoxville, into South Carolina and North Carolina, the Atlanta area, all the way down here into portions of Florida, into Jacksonville. Very wet start to your work week, and some flash flooding will be possible. Going into Tuesday, the main rainfall axis begins to move up toward the Delmarva. So we're talking more of West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, down into North Carolina there on Tuesday. And then going into Wednesday, some of that moisture continues to roll across the mid-Atlantic up towards the northeast. And then as we go into Thursday, a lot of the moisture tries to move more into the western Atlantic Ocean and off the coast there of the United States. We are keeping tabs on a severe weather threat, a low-end chance. Again, this is a dark green area, so a marginal risk. It's a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale. Again, the closer to 5 you are, the more likely severe weather will be. This is a 1 out of 5, so it's not the greatest severe weather chance, but it's a chance nonetheless. Continuing to keep an eye on the damaging winds, hail, and tornado threat. But the flash flooding threat is going to be a big deal, and this is going to continue for several days across the eastern United States. And this is going to give us a lot of rainfall here across the mid-Atlantic, the Delmarva region in particular, down here into portions of the low country of South Carolina, into the southeast coast regions of Georgia and east coast of Florida. Could be seeing widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain with isolated 5-6 inch amounts, not out of the realm of possibility, and very hilly terrain here, I want to add, across the Carolinas. So this could add to the flash flooding threat as we go through the week. So as we go through today, slight risk for flash flooding down here in the southeast, Georgia into Alabama, the Carolinas, especially the low country of South Carolina, northern Florida. As we go into Monday, the slight risk for flash flooding extends further north into more of North Carolina and Virginia now, and extends again all the way down into coastal Georgia and the east coast of Florida. And then Tuesday, it's more of a coastal Virginia and North Carolina threat for flash flooding by the middle of the week. So we're keeping an eye on that going through the week time frame. So going into the week as well, scorching heat really going to be building here across the middle of the country, especially down here into Texas, where we're going to see shattering records here going through the week. In fact, it all starts tomorrow again, Monday, on May 12th. Look at all the 90s again, triple-digit heat, not out of the realm of possibility. Dry ground heating up very quickly there in North and South Dakota and Minnesota. Record highs likely down there. 90s, mid and upper 90s down there in South Central Texas. No records on Monday, but watch Tuesday. Widespread record, triple digits down here into the Abilene area, San Antonio, Austin, down here to Corpus Christi, and Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. A lot of these areas closing in on the triple digits. Going into Wednesday, the triple digits expand all the way up into northeast Texas, and then that continues to move eastward, record highs into the Illinois Valley there, into the Davenport Quad Cities, Peoria, St. Louis, you name it, with 90s as Thursday, and then the extended area here of 90s from Texas all the way to the Carolina coast and Florida coast as we go into Friday, May 16th. So a scorching hot week it will be. It'll truly have a summer feel to it. Now, with the heat comes the storms, right? You can't have heat and summer storms stay away. We're going to see some summer storms going into next week, and it's all because of our trough coming in, and it's going to eject here into the upper Midwest as a negatively tilted trough, bringing us some very dynamic weather later on in the week. So midweek, this is Wednesday, May 14th. We're watching the transport of moisture very closely. Our cutoff low pressure here, depending on how fast it drifts to the east, may actually impede some of the transport of moisture, deeper moisture from the Gulf up further north into the Midwest and the northern plains. And that may keep our low-level moisture into more of the 40s and 50s for dew points versus the 60s and 70s. It's not very conducive for severe weather, but there will be some instability trying to make its way north there Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. And the jet stream is more displaced, so the wind shear is a little bit more displaced further down toward the south in the southern plains versus the central and northern plains. So it doesn't appear a lot of the ingredients are coming together on Wednesday anyway for severe weather, but a couple severe storms could be possible there in the Dakotas, Nebraska, and western Iowa. Damaging winds and hail would be the main risk there, but a couple tornadoes would be possible, especially if we can get some of those ingredients to come better aligned there Wednesday night. Thursday's the day for the potential of significant severe weather outbreak. Already 5 days out, the Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk of severe weather. That's a 2 out of 5 on the risk scale. This includes areas of Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, eastern Missouri, Illinois, western Kentucky, Indiana, and southwest lower Michigan. Big cities in the mix here: Madison, Milwaukee, Green Bay, Rockford, Chicago, Peoria, all the way down to St. Louis, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, getting in towards the Evansville and near Louisville, up into Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, and Grand Rapids. All you guys have to be on alert for severe weather Thursday, and all hazards are included. Damaging winds, large to very large hail, and tornadoes, and a strong tornado risk may exist as well. The ingredients are going to become better aligned on Thursday, May 15th. Dew points surging into the 60s, perhaps 70-degree mark, up into the Midwest, Ohio Valley there. That's going to give us some very strong instability values here, and probably the strongest so far this season, up into the Midwest and Ohio Valley, over 3,000 joules per kilogram. And our wind shear will come better aligned, over spreading that area here, as we have a very diffluent jet stream. We have a subtropical jet included here, so this is going to be a very dynamic system. So looking here Thursday morning, any thunderstorm activity we have back in the plains Wednesday evening and nighttime may start to lift more in towards central and eastern Iowa, and it will be on a weakening trend Thursday morning, as a cap on the atmosphere will likely be present. A cap is basically surface warmth, and you have a very narrow warm air aloft here a couple thousand feet up, and that's preventing cloud cover and a lot of precipitation from forming. That is likely to be on much of the day on Thursday. That's why we're going to heat up in a big way and become very unstable here. And then as we go into Thursday afternoon, say 4 or 5 o'clock, a cold front will be coming in. This particular model, the European model, has the atmosphere becoming uncapped and the cap eroding, and that means explosive thunderstorm development could be developing there along the Mississippi River from the tri-state area, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, all the way down towards St. Louis, with all hazards there. And it looks like a line of storms, so a mesoscale convective system that will bring some very strong damaging winds, hail, and some embedded tornadoes there going into Thursday night. Going in through the rest of the week here on Friday, May 16th, severe weather could continue across the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, down to the southeast, with lines of storms, some supercells, so tornadoes will still remain a possibility there, and that heads into Saturday. Heaviest rains here across the eastern seaboard, but we're also seeing some pretty heavy rainfall up in the Dakotas as well, so we are scorching hot, yes, into the Dakotas, triple-digit heat over the next couple of days. Could get a nice drink of water as we go into next week with precipitation with that strong low pressure system, that is for sure. Now another low pressure system and trough will be coming in as we go into next weekend and early the following week, and that could be giving us more severe weather from the southern and central plains into the Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley region, and maybe even the Mid-Atlantic as well, as a very dynamic system comes in again, and that could bring more, again, rounds of severe weather, flooding rains again to the east going into the following week there, and a very powerful low pressure system here later next week, maybe even bringing severe weather to parts of the northeast as well. So very heavy rains in the middle of the country, extending up into the northeast the following week between the 17th and the 24th of May. That's something we're keeping an eye on. We're also monitoring and assessing the severe weather threat and the flooding threat at this time. So thank you all for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, comment below, subscribe to the channel so you are up to date on the latest weather information, and I'll see you all in the next video.